All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back with another castover. This time we're going to be looking at another match on Parabola. No particular reason for this map, just figured, well, we're going to be looking for these early builds. We're going to be trying to see if we can get a competitive match, maybe a dynamic match, one that's a little bit different than what we normally see. I'll go back to a map that doesn't even have functional AI build spaces yet, because the AI is very goofy. I'll also briefly touch on a little bit of the scheduling of what's been going on with regards to Cosmonarchy's Brood War edition. But we'll first introduce our players. We have an orange, a pumpkin Protoss, and Royal Blue Protoss are our top team. And then down here we have Aralide Yellow and Aralide Yellow Protoss and Golden Brown Terran. So a little bit of a color-coded like match almost. These guys are trying to match up, trying to maybe confuse me, even though the minimap seems actually fine. There was an issue with Royal Blue being sorted incorrectly. That was actually fixed. So if you haven't been aware, the Special Bus commit, which really should be renamed, the pre-release commit for Cosmonarchy, which hopefully I remember to rename before this video goes live, is live and well. It's receiving all of the updates before the next major iterative patch. That's assuming there is a next major iterative patch. Obviously, the goals of that presumed prospective patch are going to include things like significant improvement in terms of selection, where you can select unlimited units, or at least significantly less limited units. I wasn't going to include multi-building select because there's actually a lot more complex code going on for that than you might expect. Beyond that, we had some other ideas for like raising in-game unit limits and whatnot. Similar things have been tried before. That being said, we haven't actually gotten that much progress done on that because Veek and I have been just working on Antikythera, the new engine, and we've come to the conclusion that it's probably possible to port Cosmonarchy in its current state into that new engine with netcode and presumed basic map editor within a month, actually. Pretty surprising. Now, we might take a little bit longer than that just to polish everything up, but if that happens, then we won't have any of the limits, and we won't have to memory hack the game in order to achieve any of the things that we want to do. So I've been kind of tight-lipped, unintentionally so, about Antikythera and its development, but in the time span of under a week and a half, or no, actually under a week, we managed to release a demo that included like being able to move around and shoot in an arcade style, almost side-scroller style, top-down point of view, like still isometric point of view, with Starcraft assets and Cosmonarchy-specific assets that are just sampled from a number of other games, ripped out and put in. And it had audio, it had all the things that you would want, really, for single-player play. So that much is possible. And even if we only have, like, single-player functionality possible or whatever, I would still prefer to operate in that space until the netcode is finalized. But I don't think the netcode will actually take that long to finish up. It's in a pretty good spot currently. So yeah, I figured I would just briefly get people up to speed. I've been working on the complete overhaul of the setting and designing concepts for new races entirely. So if you're interested in reading up on what the future races of Cosmonarchy will look like, you can check out a link that I'll put in the description that will take you to the setting planning. The setting being the same that we plan to use for the roguelike Dreamhold. It's not really a roguelike, I guess. It's a 2D action game is what I've been calling it, but it's so difficult to like find a term that actually fits everything. So let's dial back into the game, because the early game is well and truly passed us by. We've got a double scrapyard opener for our golden brown Terrans. They are getting a barracks behind it. And here we've got a fast expand into a Stargate. So this is pretty interesting. Probably a greed build, if I had to guess, based on how, obviously, slow, you could say, this build is. Now, over here we seem to have something of a timing build, where it's a 2-gate fast expo. Nothing massively special here, but they have gotten some cannons, so they are playing a little bit more conservatively. And then down here we have what I imagine is some sort of fast simulacrum build. This might actually be the Simulant Swarm Rush build. They do seem to be starting to attack, and they have a witness. They've got more simulacra coming. They've got a third robo facility on the way, so yeah, I don't think they'll be massively impactful here, but I guess they could overwhelm this player, assuming this guy's only got, like, Auroras. They might be able to cause some eco damage under this newly set up base. If they target the Terran player, this guy's got enough units from the scrapyards already, it's probably going to be inconsequential. Important to note, however, is that only just now did this Nexus go down. He was obviously trying to expand probably closer to like 3 minutes, like a whole minute ago, if not longer, while I was rambling on about Antikythera progress. So the Pumpkin player is going to be a little bit behind based on what the build order originally called for. And already we have a goofball pylon over here that will probably get picked apart. some vassals out, some simulacra out, a manifold coming in. So actually some pretty decent stuff. And I really like when the AI is able to get this timing right where they're actually able to expand as their army is nearing the attack target. So they're expanding behind an attack. That's usually significantly more useful. With that pylon being brought down and a third Stargate just now finishing, they're almost certainly not going to be able to properly make advantage of the production. They do have a single Aurora over here, but it's just going to be splitting some simulacra, I imagine. Bit of a skirmish going on here, scuffle happening, and obviously very one-sided towards the Terrans. He's just got higher DPS units, and he is now getting ready to expand. He's just dropped the command center, and he's got a second barracks out already. The engineering bay tech is fast, but he hasn't actually started using it. I guess he's got a treasury. Okay, that's something, but before that, he wasn't really making use of it. Would be really nice to be able to tell the AI to expand sometimes with treasuries when it makes sense. I guess that would only make sense when you have access to quarries, but engineering base started to give that, I think, 1 or 2 patches ago. So it used to be a science facility tech. That's kind of interesting, I suppose. Bit of trivia for you. Obviously, all the things that I've ever wanted to do with AI, like be able to just specify a location in the map by placing a structure in a different layer than the unit layer, in the AI pre-placed layer, if you will. That's all you need to do to make the AI learn how to actually assemble a base. You get to... for one, we'll have a way better algorithm than Blizzard had for natural placements. But you'll also be able to preview what those like default placements are and then make corrections based on your map or what you want out of your scenario. So there's a lot of really fun things that are going to come out from the new engine, not the least of which is being able to just place terrain normally instead of having to manually place it if it's an extended tile. So look forward to that. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a dedicated video. There's going to be a bit of a scuffle over here. I actually don't know who would win this fight. I would err on the side of the Terrans, but the Defender's advantage favors the Protoss, and they still have 3 robo facilities channeling a lot of units. They also have, starting to have, a couple of manifolds here, and if these guys can stay back, they can actually deal quite a bit of damage, I would say. They're the closest thing that Tier 1 robo has to a heavy hitter. And unfortunately, the Sorakans weren't able to deal a killing blow, but they did deal damage. So that we're now getting some simulacra splitting. Manifolds are doing really well to use the extra movement speed given to them by the vassals that died, which also, by the way, died over the simulacra. And obviously when the simulacra cloned, they cloned the buff. So you're actually seeing that come into pretty heavy fruition here. And now we have some dead ends, some dead Protoss. Okay, thanks. That was 3. If he was really smart, he would have walked through the field, but he's not that smart yet, so we'll get there eventually. Now, interestingly enough, we do have an air attack massing up, and it seems like this guy's got a 6th sense because he's actually pulling his units back. I don't really know what he's doing, to be honest, but you know what? He'll start to mass them up again. He's got some idols. This is perfect, actually. Perfect timing for the 4th robo facility and the automaton register, which we saw getting set up earlier. I just didn't comment on it. Speaking of things I didn't comment on, Argosy. Yes, indeed. We've got double Argosy, another Stargate, and a Celestial Tribune, which means we will be seeing some Empyreans, some Didacts, and maybe some frozen Protoss structures, because for whatever reason, AI Protoss structures seem to get that frozen issue quite a bit. This is way too much overkill for the Royal Blue Protoss to handle, so the air units will definitely be able to mop this up, but there are a decent number of idols, and now we're getting some manifolds, actually, so maybe they've bought enough time. Those Aurora explosions also have a pretty decent area of effect, so as you can see, you're starting to see some simulacrum splits from barely damaged units. So now the idols are in place. They're kiting back a little bit. They'll probably start to get picked off, especially by the aspirants, but any of these bio units getting too close will result in instant death. The concussive AoE is pretty notorious. And now that Pumpkin has joined the fight, his timing build finally activating. I don't think he's actually sent out an attack before. He's going to mop this up pretty easily. We got some more stragglers. A decent number of responses coming out from the Protoss air player, but I think the Drakodins mixed with the Simulacra, especially since they started colliding with that aspirant field. Yeah, that's going down very quickly. They are positioned over the ground units, though, so the extra Aurora damage is going to be quite welcome. Meanwhile, land effects, very useful in those positions, aren't they? And we do indeed have a pretty large number of units coming up from Pumpkin now. He kind of spiked up. It took him a long time to actually build. I obviously disabled the spam thing that like tells you what the builds are, the print message, because I wanted to see if I could figure out what they were based on just looking at them. I do have no idea, and I am kind of regretting the decision because maybe I could optimize this build a little bit. There's definitely some cases where the builds need to be improved a bit. And I guess throughout all of this, I didn't notice there's a rogue gallery going down. So we got some symbiotes, we got some of those quote-unquote mercenaries, I guess you could say. You got a perfect place for the Archon Archives. Love to see that. And he's starting to lose his third. By the way, at the same time as this is happening, even though for some psychotic reason this guy's running away, this base is being contested while Pumpkin is about to set up his. I was hoping that he had actually finished setting up his. But alas, not just yet. Aspirants of multiple players now. Pretty kind of thematic to see that. Some more reinforcements might trickle in. Lanifex being down here would be really useful against the Aerolite Yellow Protoss, since he's got a lot of like weak units that could be tickled. They're starting to spin because they are under attack, of course. Yeah, fuck those scribes. So this base has just cost a lot of money for Aerolite, but don't despair yet. Despair only when more units start raining in. You can see the team color stuff broke here because this was cloaked by a Didact. Unfortunately, the remapping palettes don't actually work correctly if they've been cloaked. You'll notice this because if you cloak an Archon in Cosmonarchy, it will actually vanish from the map because it's technically BEXPL, a custom remapping palette. Another thing we don't have to worry about, by the way, in the new engine. Very exciting. Very wounded Exemplar leads the fight. A very brave Didact responds. Should probably get the hell out of there, but oh, the stasis on his own ally's envoy. Very useful. I'm starting to side with this southern team. They've been able to set up bases. Actually, Aerolite somehow set up 2 bases here, which has forced the Golden Brown Terrans to fuck off onto the left side. And this area is not nearly as fortified as the other ones, so they need to scramble the jets. They need to scramble everything they got and start sending it down to the front lines, because their collective bases are being threatened. And you can build as many Tier 1 units as you like, but you need to start getting those Magisters out. I like the Gladiuses, especially considering the number of infantry units, but they need to be in a slightly better position at this point. Idols are good, Hierophants are good. Something's hallucinating, which means that there's a Charlatan. Indeed, that's Aerolite Yellow's Charlatan. So be very careful with that. Here comes a Gladius. The other 2 are down here and need to be moving it up here, guys. The kiting is spinning. Yeah, they're getting some stuff done. The melee units coming in. The golems in particular, so stocky. People don't use golems yet. They haven't figured out how powerful they are, I think. So just keep that in mind. So this is another base that just got kind of fucked around a bit. But not too many scribe corpses that I can see. I think I only see this one. So actually, it only just started getting set up by the looks of things. And we do indeed have this counterattack happening that completely shut down this base. So yet another base for Aerolite Yellow that doesn't really seem to be offering too much. And if this Gladius has anything to say about it, that will be a very common occurrence, I think. And they were able to seemingly drive back some of these units, all the same. But yeah, there's just going to be some pretty consistent sorties. I would still err on the side of the southern team, just because obviously Aerolite is setting up another base to the right, Golden Brown setting up a base to the left. They've got this not very powerful force, but a force that's going to cause some havoc over here, especially as the Royal Blue player is made up mostly of ground units. So good luck actually getting into a proper position. We're settling into about 13 minutes here. And what we're seeing is a consistent sort of back and forth, which is kind of what this map is pressured towards, I guess you could say. It's designed towards that sort of thing. Yeah, I'm guessing these Gladiuses, in the hands of a player, they would just eviscerate this scribe line, especially considering the out-of-position nature and the fact that there weren't any photon cannons. They're warping some in now, but it's still not really in the best of positions to cover themselves. And now the distraction in the back line gives way to a bio-focused force. This might actually, I'm not sure, we should, when the action settles down a little bit, assuming it ever does, I should take a look at the Terran base. Because obviously this is a pretty pivotal point if they can ever breach it. And they are getting some reinforcements from Aerolite. It looks like they're being disabled by the Lanifex though, which is of course classic. You probably won't be seeing too much more action out of the aspirants of the south. And there's a lot of units coming out from Royal Blue. He's content to attack this side base here. He's already denied a double gas base. Very risky business to try to defend those. Even take those in the first place, to be honest. And yeah, once again, we have some scribes shut down, but the forge here is really crucial. It's going to allow a lot more scribes to be produced. So not particularly concerned about that are the top team. And now, with their forces holding off, riposting these attacks down the middle, and a pretty sizable force of robotics making their way to shut down this mining base, I'm actually not sure what we're going to be seeing out of the southern team. I think they might be in for a world of pain, to be honest. Yes, walk through the field. Yes, yes! This is exactly what I wanted to see. Although I'm not actually sure if that even triggers it, but it looked like I saw some splits, so I'm just going to assume that it did. I don't think this is enough simulacra to actually take down those exemplars, but I guess I wouldn't be massively surprised. They're just decolliding with themselves right now. I can't wait to have like proper improved decolliding behavior. Speaking of improved behavior, the scrapyard bug, the lifted structure bug will not exist either, for that matter. But I think this might be the death knell. Just this giant ball of robotics Protoss that wrapped around the whole map and circumvented the attack force. At the same time, they've been sending like forces it to link back in, you know, which is pretty impressive, to be honest. There's also some like straggler or pumpkin forces scattered around. They've shut down this base. Yeah, okay. Maybe my faith in the South team was misplaced after all. Looks like it will be all north all the time. The Gladiuses as well, if they get shut down before they can actually hit those simulacra, all they do is split every simulacra. And with the sort of haphazard lack of focus that the AI has, it does seem like it's a little bit difficult for them. He finally whittled them down eventually, but it was a little bit scary there initially. And yeah, I'm guessing at this point we're well on our way to a North team victory. The momentum is firmly in their hands. They haven't really set up that many more bases on behalf of this, but the number of forces here that are like stopping any further expansion attempts, there's yet more harassment going on at this nexus that's incredibly low, mind you. Unfortunately, those vassals won't be enchanting anybody anytime soon. But like every now and then there's just like these straggler units here. Like this guy over here, he's just killing scribes like a piece of shit. Like if an AI was doing this to me, I would think it was a real player or something. I'd be sure this was like some asshole. Ah, you kited into your own scribe's death. How could you? There you go. So we're going to see some more skirmishes. This base from Arrowlight is probably going to get contested at the very least, even if it isn't shut down. Just cost some more stuff. We got golems loose in the base. They're picking off all sorts of stuff. This mining line is completely down. He's building more captaincies, but even if he had the structures, I don't know that he would have the income is the problem. And now we have, again, no mining anywhere for Arrowlight's expansions. This is the closest he's gotten. It's like 5 scribes. Other than that, he just has his natural and his main. His main is mined out, so it's depleted. His natural's on the way. He's got like 8 or 9 workers total mining resources outside of his bases that are either depleted or will soon be depleted. And this guy's building a ton of production all of a sudden now, so I'm guessing he's realized he's in desperate times. Or maybe he lost some in his main or something and is rebuilding them there. It's quite possible. I did see the nanite assembly, but this base layout is atrocious, so don't know what to make of that one. Maybe he'll be able to hold off long enough, but this nanite assembly isn't even spinning. And this nexus just finally went down, so you hate to see it. Although I actually don't. I think it's quite satisfying. They just keep bullying the scribes, dude. They can't ever mine. Oh yeah, did I mention? I think I mentioned this in one of the other castovers. The fact that I was thinking of making architects hover, low flight, similar to Antikythera's. On second, like upon further reflection, it would probably be busted. That unit is very powerful. Well, it is also on the field now, so check that out, I guess. We got some charlatans that are hopefully the answer here. You can tell that this sprite really needs to be re-rendered. It took me a long time to figure out which one of these was the charlatans. It's like a nightmare for readability because they do very different things. And in either case, there's something you want to get rid of, but we'll get them eventually, guys. Don't worry. Ooh, that Hierophant slowing him down, stopping the kiting from being massively useful. And then the Eccentralisks obviously just tanked so many shots because they can heal that. I don't know, man. Dude, this Arrowlight player is ballsy. He just keeps building bases. I'm amazed that he's had the income at all. Clearly the Terran player, on the other hand, is like struggling quite a bit. I mean, he's got some structures, he's got some add-ons. He might be able to get some Tarrasques out. He's got the biotic base after all, but let's just say it's not looking too hot for our southern team. They are trying to make an offensive. The robotics authorities make me think that the tech path taken by the north team is soon going to be quite constricting. They've been able to mine all of these resources virtually unchallenged this whole time. And so all you're really going to be able to succeed in doing at this point, I think, is stirring the pot. A fuck ton of scribes died over here, which is pretty impressive. And these guys are too dumb to build forges for some reason, so pretty funny. But these guys just have so much money, and they have the fleet. They have the units, they have the production structures necessary to reinforce their pushes pretty much any time they want to go. So, yeah, I don't know. Okay, Pumpkin did definitely get some eco damage dealt to him across a couple of different bases. But it's not trending in a positive look for them. And especially if this production goes down in any capacity, I mean, this player is boned. His nanite assembly singular is spinning. Okay, just spat out a centaur. Might still get taken down, but with the number of Panoptises that are being popped here, probably not. There's another centaur over here. Oh, he's got a couple nanite assemblies up here, too. I didn't even see those. I'm surprised he did that. Wait, is this real? He learned? Or I have bugged tiles, I'm not sure which. Or maybe there's just no height difference on those normally. I'm pretty sure there is. I guess my AI does know how to evolve. I don't know what to tell you. I like how they went closer to the field, and as a result died. Solarians are on the field. We got all sorts of crazy shit going down. I probably need to find a new sound effect for the exemplar death. Keep that in mind. I will be looking at that later on. It sounds a little bit more like a Terran death to me, instinctually. Soon there will be no such things as Terrans, Zerg, or Protoss. Won't that be a fun day? Owned. Well, we're getting towards that stalemate territory. I'll give it another run. I'll let it continue running out for a couple of minutes here before we consider this one frozen. I was pretty sure the South team was going to come back, and then I was pretty sure the North team was going to just own. And then the South team, mostly on behalf of this guy spamming a million production structures, and the Aerolite Protoss spamming a million bases, I guess. Okay, this is gross. I guess this was occupied when he set that down. That's the only excuse I can come up with. It would definitely take some sort of like flashpoint moment inside the map to tip the scales in any one player's favor at this point. And just picking off a couple of isolated bases here and there is not going to be sufficient. Although these Solarians are starting to grow in number. I mean, it went from 1 to 2, and that's a 100% increase. So. And they're kiting. That's scary, dude. What if science has gone too far? I fucked up the meme format, but you guys know what I'm talking about. We got some exemplars loose in the base, picking off masons again, these motherfuckers. I like the Ahmed just like trying to get close, and all he's successful at doing is fucking the simulacra, like cloning them a little bit. It's pretty funny. Yeah, I do like that there are a ton of skirmishes all around the map. I don't like this placement of the base. This is pretty stupid and embarrassing. I think the reason why the AI fails oftentimes to build production structures or build structures at all around the mains is because the priority of pylons is too low. I haven't experimented with massively increasing those. I have experimented with increasing those, but apparently it wasn't enough. It did seem to fix a lot of things. It did usually make forge counts a bit too high for my liking, or like they would build them too quickly for what they really needed. And you'll also note that this player seems totally fine to build pylons. If the blue player gets more bases up and running, he's actually building production structures with them. It's the orange player that isn't, so it's probably something that's like build specific, and that's why he's kind of like sleepy. I mean, he's got units, but he's not really as active as he could be. I'll put it to that. So my money is on this royal blue player. If he can continue the amassment of many men, that would be epic. I don't know where these scribes went or why they were all the way across the map, or where they're going? What is happening? Where are they going? What are they doing? Oh, they went all the way back here to return resources. Okay. And I don't know. We'll have to keep track of that guy. I'll select him again. We do indeed have an Antikythera. Always nice. We also have a Magister pranking. I'm hearing an Empyrean, but I don't actually know where it is. Oh, here it is. It was kiting. Herald Yellow taking the other island base now. A classic. What is going on over here? Stop kiting. Just attack him. Just kill him. Oh my god. Meanwhile. He actually died to scribes. Pretty intense. Ah, I see. This guy decided to go all the way across the map. For no reason. Archon. Singular. Not Archons. If the title of this castover was Stop Kiting, Just Kill Him, I guarantee that would give Veek some nightmares. And he would watch through the entire episode and wonder, man, was the kiting really bad in this? What happened? That's not what he sounds like at all, but whatever. You get the point. Even though the kiting hasn't been that bad. It's been pretty good. I mean, Cantors are fucked. Like, I think these guys are just bugged, and we probably need to disable kiting from them. Or at least make it way less frequent, because I think it's, like, not getting the cooldown or whatever, because it's a gimmick fucking Blizzard lard code. Speaking of Blizzard lard code, we do indeed have a bunch of units flying around. Some more. Yeah, and again, no real decided push, but oh, we got a base being set up over here. That's pretty scary, actually. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of like this push. We might be making some progress here. We just need to get more of these units actually in on the action. It looks like maybe the AI is not correctly sending the suicide mission or whatever. I think part of it is that it literally can't get its units over because of the stupid wall it's made. Like, I could probably break the stalemate a lot more if I did U-kill on this robotics authority. And let them free themselves. But I have no explanation for the air units, though. I have no idea what's going on. I still can't believe Blizzard checks for collision only if it's a specific unit ID instead of any production structure. That still blows my mind. Like, you can just check if the unit has a produces units function, or if it has the factory start at group flag. There's so many things you could have done. Like, they gave themselves a lot of options, and then at the end of the day, they didn't use any of them. Alright, a Solarian has arrived. It's got some reinforcements. They're starting to defend this location, which means they're defending the AI's natural soon. What is? There you go. Whatever unit he was trying to attack, finally was killed, so he was able to attack the units that he was in range of. I figure land effects should probably go down in targeting cost if they have this disruption web thing on, because I mean, I guess the AI might be using it on its own units like right now, but it's also in many cases it's also pretty bad, pretty annoying. Yeah, this is definitely a decided push. I did tell you the money would be on Royal Blue if he could actually do something, and he has done something, allegedly, sort of. He's got units all over the place. I haven't even noticed these forces that trickled in here, and I also didn't notice that this giant force annihilated all this stuff, so... Alright, we have a winner. A clear, defined winner. The ion cannon is doing its best to close things out here. Unfortunately, I think we're at the bullet limit or something, so bye. The ion cannon is doing its best to expose Blizzard's shitty programming and limits. And it's a good thing we have some air units for both players because they can wipe out these side bases. We have a witness revealing them, and these guys seem very confused because they can't get there without transport, so they will spin instead. Yeah, one of the things that's really obvious to me when I'm watching all of the the things that have held us back down the years as content creators within the Brood War space, it becomes so obvious that like we're trying to produce something of quality with Cosmonarchy and with many other projects down the years. Some of it was our own poor design or our own lack of discipline, but a lot of it was also the engine, the space. It just didn't quite work. It didn't quite do the job. It didn't have everything we wanted out of it. And that, I think, is a damn shame. Because obviously Brood War could have been really epic. In some ways it already is. But only when you're comparing it to what else has been released. If you're comparing it to the sort of objective... it's a glass ceiling, right? It's the potential opportunity is way higher. So I hope to show that to a very successful degree very soon. Because this is just what we've been able to scrap cobble together in an engine that has been very hostile to us, actually, overall. And all I will do is ask you to imagine for a moment what we might be able to do when we don't have limits, like bullets and units and selection, when we have Star Sovereigns glassing the enemy. That's pretty epic. Go ahead and screenshot that one. There you go. Now we're talking. People would look at this screenshot and assume it was an air build or something, but nope, it was a robo build. When we have the AI that isn't like fighting our code and Blizzard's code at the same time to determine what it wants to do or what it should do. When it just, to quote a certain Todd, but not the Todd you might be thinking of, when it just works. When that's the case, the world will be forever changed. And that is the case very soon, actually. So, a little inspirational message for us homies out there who have been sat here hoping for legit content, hoping for not being forced to add an exception into your fucking firewall every single time you download a new version of Cosmonarchy. Yeah. Your time's coming, homie. Here you go. A send-off. In style. Also, if you think this is busted, because some players think that this is like OP or whatever. If you think this is busted, wait till you see the Solar Throne edition of the Star Sovereign. Those guys don't give a fuck about being profane. So they will just kill you. And let's just say there will be a Star Sovereign type unit that deals damage to itself and other air units. And, well, you know how it is. Oh, I didn't know they could just sneak in through here. No wonder these units are confused. This isn't airtight. I'll have to fix that later. But yeah, there will be a Star Sovereign type unit that glasses the atmosphere as well. Deals damage to itself, eventually explodes, and happens to be able to move around while glassing. Prepare. If you thought what I came up with for Brood War was crazy, you ain't seen nothing yet. We'll have 20 races, each with about 100 units, 10 tiers of tech on average. It's going to be crazy, it's going to be great, and I will see you there. In other news, get owned.